Alrighty, back again for another installment of the restoration of the Fiat 124 Sport Coupe. So, in the last episode you would have seen me making this lower firewall section. That's all done now. It's not welded in because before I weld that in, I need to make a new floor pan because this is horrendous. So, I realize I'm not going to get a good idea of dimensions off this one. However, the passenger side is in mint condition and it is just a reverse. So I can go through and take all the measurements and all the stuff I need to make a template for the driver's side from that side and then just flip it. And it should, in theory, be exactly the same. So the first task now is to try to make a paper template of that whole floor pan there as best I can, and then figure out how I'm going to put all these beads and lower sections in it. So let's do that. Alright, what you would have just seen then was a multi-step process. So, step one, I went into the passenger side to get a rough outline of what we were dealing with in terms of all the undulations, the dips and the high points and all the rest of it off that floor pan. This is how it turned out. It was good to use this as a rough guide to sort of first pass to get your head around what's actually going on there. It wasn't going to be detailed enough to start sort of, you know, making any sort of, I guess, 3D template off. So after this step, I created this. So as you can see, this is a lot more detailed than the last one. So the way I created this was I start off with two straight axes. This one is the cross member inside the car that sits just behind the seat. This one here is the edge of the inner sill. So, bit by bit, I went through, I got a measurement off the inner sill and a measurement off the cross member, which gave me this point. And I did that for every single one of these points, all of them, which gave me this, which in theory is a relatively accurate layout of the passenger floor pan. However, this is for the passenger floor pan, not the driver's, so I needed to mirror it like this. So, anyone that knows, this is what's called, I guess, a buck. Back when these cars were made, obviously all the panels were pressed, with a big machine pressed the sheet metal into whatever shape the die was underneath it. We don't have the press, we don't have the die, so all you can do is essentially make a wooden die, and then instead of a press you get a hammer and you beat the shape into it using this. So now I'll try to explain how all this actually works. If the floor was dead flat, there wouldn't be a problem because you just have a flat floor with these dips in them. These dips are 8mm deep, very straightforward. However, it is not flat. This is all flat around the perimeter, but on the guts of it in the middle, it actually drops down. So this is the lowest point down this end. So this is actually the lowest point down here. So I thought about it and I figured that the only way I could do this varying depth section in the middle was to use multiple layers. So this first layer is just the top plate, which sits on top of the piece of sheet metal, clamps it down. This I used to cut out this perimeter, everything obviously outside flat, everything inside varying depth. So once I'd cut that out, I could get rid of this center section like that. From there, everything, you can start to see it slowly taking shape. These sections here are those ribs that are all 8mm deep. Now, it's going to be 8mm up this end because this is sort of where we hit the flat panel. So that's going to be 8mm, but you can see here as it comes down, it gets a lot thicker down here, and that is because we need to remove material through here. How do I know how deep I have to take this material down? I could just draw the line of 8mm around there and go straight down to that level. However, the factory, it's actually, I think the lowest point is somewhere around here, and then on this one the lowest point is, I think, somewhere through here. So it's not just a uniform grade. How do I know how far down to go? With a grid of the existing floor, like this. So what I've done with all these points here, these are all my points of interest. I've measured off this cross member and off this inner sill to get these points. That will then give me a reference that I can use on my wooden buck. And to get the actual elevation, I need to do something like this. So obviously this section here, that I know is flat. And if I run this square from that flat section to the flat section up here next to the inner sill, I can then take a tape measure and go down to that point and see that it is roughly 9mm down to that point there. So now on this point here, I've got the grid reference of the cross member and the inner sill, and I've got a depth. I can measure that depth out on my drill bit, whack a bit of tape around to give me a reference, and now I can drill down until I hit that marker there, and then that will give me a depth. At that point, remove material until I hit the bottom of that drill hole. So if I have drill holes all through here, it gives me multiple reference points of how far down I have to go to make this whole area match what is in the car already. So let's go through and do all that now. And there we have it, the finished product, all bolted together. All these sections have all been smoothed off. So this all comes down into here. This all sort of flows down in this direction. This all comes down into here. All these little channels here are all a standard 8mm the whole way. Everything done. That is a long process, let me tell you. That took about 4 days to get it to this completed stage. So the only thing left to do now is to get the piece of sheet metal in there, bolt it all down, sandwich it down, and then smack it down with a hammer until it all drops down and forms into this. But that won't be in this episode because we've run out of time and I want to upload this. So the actual making of the floor will have to wait till next episode. Thank you so much for all the comments. It's a big motivation for me reading those comments. It really makes me want to get into the garage every day and keep this process going. So thank you for all those comments, and yeah, keep them coming. See ya.